Have you ever felt like someone was watching you in your hotel room? That feeling when you wake up at 3 a.m. and something just feels wrong. What if I told you that sometimes that feeling is real? Sometimes vacation turns into your worst nightmare. And the scariest part? These stories are completely true. Every single word you're about to hear actually happened to real people just like you and me. People who just wanted a nice vacation. People who came back, changed forever. So lock your doors, turn on all the lights, and whatever you do, don't watch this alone. Story 1. The hotel room that wasn't empty. Sarah had been planning this trip to New Orleans for 2 whole years. She saved every penny, worked extra shifts at the hospital where she was a nurse, and finally booked a beautiful old hotel in the French Quarter. The Sainte Marie Hotel, built in 1823. The pictures online looked perfect. Old wooden floors, tall windows, and that classic southern charm she always dreamed about. She arrived on a hot Tuesday afternoon in July. The moment she walked into the hotel lobby, something felt off. You know that feeling when you walk into a room and everyone suddenly stops talking? That's what it felt like. The lobby was empty except for one old man behind the desk. His name tag said Eugene, but he never looked her in the eyes. Not once. Room 217, he said, sliding the old brass key across the desk. His fingers were ice cold when they touched hers. 3rd floor, end of the hall. Sarah grabbed her bags and headed to the old elevator. It creaked and groaned as it went up. The hallway on the 3rd floor was long and dark. Only one light worked, flickering at the far end. Her room was the last door on the left. The key turned with a loud click. The door opened to reveal a beautiful room, exactly like the pictures. Big bed with white sheets, antique furniture, a large mirror on the wall. But the air inside was freezing cold. In July, in New Orleans, that should have been her first warning. Sarah unpacked her clothes and decided to take a shower before exploring the city. The bathroom was old but clean. She turned on the hot water and waited for it to warm up. As steam filled the room, she noticed something strange in the mirror. There were handprints on the other side of the glass, like someone had been pressing against it from inside the wall. She wiped the mirror clean and tried to forget about it. Just old stains, she told herself. The shower felt good after the long flight. But as she washed her hair, she heard something. Footsteps in her room. Heavy footsteps walking back and forth. "Hello," she called out. "Is someone there?" The footsteps stopped. Sarah quickly turned off the water and grabbed a towel. She slowly opened the bathroom door. The room was empty, but her suitcase was open. Her clothes were spread all over the bed, and the window was wide open, curtains blowing in the wind. She knew she had closed and locked that window. Sarah quickly got dressed and ran downstairs to the lobby. Eugene was still there, still not looking at her. "Someone was in my room," she said, breathing hard. Eugene slowly looked up. For the first time, she saw his eyes. They were completely white, no pupils at all. "Room 217 has been empty for 50 years, he said, in a voice that didn't sound human anymore. "No one stays in room 217. Sarah felt her blood turn to ice. "But you gave me that room. You gave me the key." Eugene smiled. His teeth were black. "I've been dead for 50 years, too. We've been waiting for you, Sarah." That's when Sarah looked around the lobby again. Really looked. The wallpaper was peeling, covered in mold. The furniture was rotting. And there were other people now. Lots of them, all with white eyes, all smiling with black teeth, all walking towards her. Sarah ran. She ran faster than she ever had in her life. Out of the hotel, down the street, not stopping until she reached a police station 10 blocks away. The officers thought she was crazy at first, until they looked up the St. Marie Hotel. It had burned down in 1973. Everyone inside had died, including the night manager, Eugene Blackwood. Room 217 was where the fire started. A guest named Mary Thompson had died in that room. She had been a nurse. She had Sarah's exact same name before she got married and changed it. The police drove Sarah back to where the hotel should have been. There was nothing there but an empty lot, weeds growing through broken concrete, a sign that said future development site coming soon. Sarah's suitcase was sitting in the middle of the lot. Everything inside was covered in ash and smelled like smoke, like it had been in a fire. But the worst part came later, when Sarah developed the pictures she had taken with her phone. In every single photo, standing right behind her, was a woman, burned black, no eyes, reaching out with charred hands, getting closer in each picture. Sarah never traveled alone again. She moved to a different state, changed her name back to her maiden name. But sometimes, on hot July nights, she still smells smoke, and sometimes, in mirrors, she sees someone standing behind her, someone who looks exactly like her. If she had died in a fire 50 years ago. Story 2. The cruise ship passenger who never existed. Michael and Jennifer had been married for 15 years. For their anniversary, Michael surprised Jennifer with tickets for a Caribbean cruise. 7 days, 6 nights. Paradise on the ocean. Jennifer had always wanted to go on a cruise, but they never had the money until now. The ship was massive. The Ocean Dream. 5,000 passengers. 2,000 crew members. 15 decks. It was like a floating city. Their cabin was on deck 7, room 7,428. A nice balcony room with an ocean view. The first 3 days were perfect. They ate amazing food, watched shows, swam in the pools, and danced until late at night. But on day 4, everything changed. It started at dinner. They were sitting at their assigned table with 6 other people. Everyone was laughing, drinking wine, having a good time. Then Jennifer noticed something odd. There was a man sitting at the table next to them, alone. He was pale, wearing clothes that looked old-fashioned, like from the 1960s, and he was staring right at her, not blinking, just staring. "Michael," she whispered, "that man is creeping me out." Michael looked over. "What man?" "The one at the next table, in the gray suit." Michael looked again. "Honey, that table is empty." Jennifer looked back. The man was still there, still staring. Now he was smiling. His lips were blue, like he was freezing cold, or like he had been underwater too long. "You don't see him?" Jennifer asked, her voice shaking. "There's nobody there," Michael said, now looking worried. That night, Jennifer couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw that man's face, those blue lips, that terrible smile. At 3 a.m., she heard a knock at their cabin door. Michael was fast asleep. The knock came again. Louder. Jennifer got up and looked through the peephole. It was him. the man from dinner, standing right outside their door, still smiling. Water was dripping from his clothes, making a puddle on the floor. Jennifer backed away from the door. The knocking continued. Then she heard his voice, quiet, wet, like he was talking underwater. I know you can see me. You're special. You can see the truth. Room 7428. My anniversary cruise too. 40 years ago. Jennifer woke Michael up. The knocking had stopped. Michael opened the door. The hallway was empty, but there was water on the floor. A trail of water leading away from their door. The next morning, Jennifer went to the ship's library. She had to know. She searched through old newspapers on the computer, and she found it. October 15th, 1983. Exactly 40 years ago. A man named Robert Chen had gone missing from the Ocean Dream during an anniversary cruise. He was in room 7428. He was never found, presumed to have fallen overboard. But that wasn't the worst part. The article had a photo. It was him, the exact same man, even wearing the same gray suit. That night at dinner, he was there again, closer this time, just 2 tables away. Still, nobody else could see him. Jennifer tried to ignore him, but then she heard his voice in her head. They pushed me. My business partner? He was having an affair with my wife. They pushed me over the railing. My body is still down there, still trapped under the ship. Help me. Tell them the truth. Jennifer stood up so fast she knocked over her wine glass. The whole dining room looked at her. She ran out, Michael following, calling her name. She ran to their cabin and started packing. We need to leave. We need to get off this ship, she said, throwing clothes into their suitcase. Jennifer, we're in the middle of the ocean. We can't leave. That's when they heard it. Water, running water, coming from their bathroom. Michael opened the door. The bathtub was filling up, but no one had turned it on. And the water was dark, black. It smelled like the deep ocean, like dead fish and salt and something else, something rotting. Then Robert came out of the water, slow, dripping. His skin was gray and bloated. Seaweed wrapped around his neck. Small crabs crawled out of his mouth when he tried to speak. This time, Michael saw him too. Help me, Robert screamed, but water poured out instead of sound. They ran. They ran to the captain, told him everything. The captain's face went white. He knew the story. Every crew member did. They just didn't talk about it. Room 7428 was supposed to be blocked off, never rented. There had been incidents before. The captain moved them to a different room, but it didn't matter. Robert followed. Every night, water would appear. Puddles in the hallway, wet footprints on their balcony, and his voice, always whispering, "Find my body. Tell the truth." On the last night of the cruise, Jennifer couldn't take it anymore. She went to the spot where Robert had gone overboard 40 years ago. Deck 12, aft section. She stood at the railing, looking down at the black water. "I'm sorry," she said. "I'm sorry this happened to you, but I can't help you. Please, just let us go." That's when she felt hands on her back, cold, wet hands, pushing. She grabbed the railing just in time. When she turned around, Robert was there, but he looked different, sad instead of scary. "Room 1247, he said clearly. "No water this time. Harold Morrison." "Check room 1247. Jennifer and Michael found room 1247. Harold Morrison was there. An old man now, but Jennifer recognized him from the newspaper photos. Robert's business partner from 40 years ago. When he saw them at his door, his face went white. "He told you, didn't he?" Harold said. "Robert told you. I see him too. Every cruise, every year. He won't leave me alone." Harold confessed everything to the ship's security. How he had pushed Robert overboard for the insurance money and his wife. How they had planned it for months. How they had gotten away with it for 40 years. That night, Robert appeared one last time. He looked peaceful now, almost normal. He nodded at Jennifer, mouthed "thank you," and walked into the bathroom. They heard a splash. When they looked, the bathtub was empty, dry, like nothing had ever happened. Harold Morrison was arrested when the ship docked. He confessed to everything. They never found Robert's body, but Jennifer never saw him again. Sometimes, though, on their anniversary, she and Michael receive a postcard. No return address, no postmark, just a picture of the ocean and 2 words, "Thank you." Story 3. The Airbnb in the woods. Tom and Lisa were both teachers. They needed a break. A quiet weekend away from the city, away from kids, away from stress. They found the perfect place on Airbnb. A cute little cabin in the mountains of Oregon. Completely isolated. No neighbors for miles. The host, someone named M. Crawford, had 5-star reviews. Everyone said the same thing. So peaceful, so quiet, perfect for getting away from it all. They drove 6 hours to get there. The last hour was on dirt roads. No cell service. No GPS. Just following the hand-drawn map the host had sent them. The trees got thicker and darker the further they went. By the time they arrived, the sun was setting. The cabin was exactly as advertised. Small, but cozy. Wood-burning fireplace. Kitchen with old copper pots. A bedroom with a quilted bedspread that looked handmade. It was perfect. Too perfect, Lisa would think later. They unpacked, opened a bottle of wine, and started making dinner. That's when Tom noticed the first weird thing. The windows. All of them had nails in the frames. Like someone had nailed them shut from the inside. Probably to keep out bears, he said, but he didn't sound convinced. After dinner, they sat by the fire. Lisa was reading. Tom was looking through the guest book. Previous visitors had written nice things. Beautiful place. So relaxing. We'll definitely come back. But Tom noticed something strange. All the entries stopped 3 years ago. The last entry was different. The handwriting was shaky. If you're reading this, leave now. Don't stay after dark. The host isn't who you think. Get out, Tom showed Lisa. She laughed nervously. Probably just someone playing a prank. That's when they heard it. Scratching on the walls outside. Long, slow scratches. Like fingernails on wood. Just an animal, Lisa said. The scratching stopped. Then came a knock at the door. 3 slow knocks. Tom looked through the window. There was a man outside. Tall, thin, wearing old clothes covered in dirt. He was smiling, but something was wrong with his face. His smile was too wide. It went all the way to his ears. "Hello," the man called out. His voice was sing-song like a child's. "I'm your host. Can I come in?" Tom and Lisa looked at each other. The Airbnb messages had said the host would leave them alone, that they'd have complete privacy, that the keys would be under the mat and they'd never have to meet. "We're good, thanks," Tom called back. "Just settling in for the night." The man's smile got wider. Impossibly wide. But I need to come in. I need to check on things. It's my job. Please let me in. Maybe tomorrow, Tom said, backing away from the door. The man pressed his face against the window. His eyes were completely black. No whites at all. I'm very hungry, he said. I haven't eaten in so long. Please, let me in. That's when Lisa noticed something that made her blood freeze. In the kitchen, on the counter, was a newspaper. She hadn't seen it before. The headline read, "Local family of 4 missing in woods." The date was from 3 years ago. The same time the guest book entries stopped, the article said the Crawford family had disappeared from their cabin. Parents and 2 children. Never found. Only strange thing was that neighbors reported seeing lights in the cabin sometimes, and smoke from the chimney, like someone was still living there. Tom, Lisa whispered. I think we're in the Crawford cabin. I think that's M. Crawford outside. The scratching started again, but now it was on all the walls, all around the cabin, and there were voices. Multiple voices, all saying the same thing. Let us in. We're so hungry, so cold. Let us in. Tom grabbed his phone. No signal. They were trapped. The things outside started getting more aggressive. Banging on the walls. Shaking the door. The nailed windows started creaking. One nail popped out. Then another. The car, Lisa said. We need to get to the car. They grabbed their keys and got ready to run. Tom would go first, start the car. Lisa would follow. They counted to 3, and Tom yanked open the door. The man was right there, inches from the door. But now Tom could see him clearly in the porch light. His skin was gray and rotting. Parts of his face were missing. And behind him were 3 more figures, a woman and 2 children, all dead, all rotting, all smiling, those impossible smiles. You can't leave, the man said. No one leaves. You'll stay with us. Forever and ever and ever. Tom tried to push past, but the man grabbed his arm. His grip was ice cold and impossibly strong. His fingers went right through Tom's jacket, into his skin. Tom screamed. Lisa grabbed the fireplace poker and swung it at the man's head. It went right through him, like he was made of mist, but it was enough to make him let go. Tom and Lisa ran to the car. The dead family followed, moving in jerky, unnatural ways. Like puppets on strings, Tom started the car. It wouldn't turn on. The engine just clicked. The family surrounded the car, pressing their faces against the windows. Their dead eyes staring, their mouths moving, but no sound coming out. Then Lisa saw something that gave her hope. In the back seat was a Bible. The previous renters must have left it. She grabbed it and held it up. The dead family stepped back, hissing like cats. They're afraid of it, Lisa said. They got out of the car, Lisa holding the Bible in front of them. The dead family backed away, but didn't leave. They followed them down the dirt road, walking just out of reach, whispering, "You'll get tired, you'll drop it, and then you'll join us." Tom and Lisa walked all night. 6 hours through the dark woods. The dead family followed the whole time, sometimes getting closer when Lisa's arms got tired, sometimes laughing when Tom tripped and fell. Finally, as the sun came up, they reached the main road. A truck driver stopped and picked them up. When they looked back, the dead family was standing at the edge of the woods, not moving, just watching. The man waved goodbye, that impossible smile still on his face. Tom and Lisa went straight to the police. But when the cops went to investigate, they couldn't find the cabin. The dirt road led to nothing but an old burn site. The cabin had burned down 3 years ago. With the Crawford family inside, all 4 bodies had been found and buried. But the Airbnb listing was still there, still active, still taking reservations. Tom and Lisa tried to get it removed, but Airbnb said they couldn't find it in their system. Yet people kept reviewing it. New reviews every month, all 5 stars, all saying how quiet and peaceful it was. Tom and Lisa never went camping again, never stayed in any remote places, and they never, ever looked at Airbnb, because sometimes, late at night, they'd get notifications on their phones. New messages from M. Crawford. Come back anytime. Your room is still available. We're waiting for you. The messages include photos. Photos of Tom and Lisa in the cabin. Photos they never took. In each one, standing behind them, getting closer and closer, is the Crawford family, smiling, waiting, hungry. Story 4. The Beach Resort Nightmare. David had saved for 5 years for this trip. Cancun, Mexico. An all-inclusive resort right on the beach. He was taking his girlfriend Rachel for her birthday. 7 days in paradise. The Coral Sands Resort looked amazing online. White sand beaches, crystal clear water, 5 restaurants, 3 pools. Paradise. They arrived on a Sunday afternoon. The resort was huge and beautiful, but something was off. It was peak season, but the resort seemed empty. They only saw a few other guests. The staff smiled too much, like they were forced to, and everyone kept staring at Rachel. Not in a creepy way, but in a sad way, like they felt sorry for her. Their room was on the 4th floor, ocean view, king-size bed, everything perfect. That first night, they ate at the steakhouse, drank margaritas by the pool, and walked on the beach under the stars. It really was paradise. But at exactly 3:33 a.m., Rachel woke up to singing. Soft singing coming from the beach. A woman's voice. Beautiful, but sad. She went out on the balcony and looked down. There was a woman on the beach, standing in the waves. She was wearing a white dress that floated around her in the water. She was looking up at their room, singing in Spanish. David, come look at this, Rachel said. But when David came out, the beach was empty. No woman, no singing, just the sound of waves. You were dreaming, David said. But Rachel knew what she saw, and she could still hear the singing, faint, like an echo. The next day, they went to the beach. The sand was perfect, the water was warm. But Rachel kept feeling like something was pulling her deeper into the water. She'd be standing in waist-deep water, and suddenly she'd be in up to her neck. She couldn't explain how it happened. The current is strong here, the lifeguard said, but he wouldn't look at her when he said it, and he kept crossing himself, making the sign of the cross over and over. That night at dinner, an old waiter approached their table. He looked around to make sure no one was watching, then leaned in close. You need to leave, he whispered. Tonight. Leave and don't come back. What? David asked. Room 412. You're in room 412. Yes. They nodded. The waiter's face went pale. She always takes the ones in room 412 on the 7th night. Always the women. Always on the 7th night. Before they could ask more questions, the manager appeared and pulled the waiter away. They could hear him being yelled at in Spanish. They never saw that waiter again. That night, the singing was louder. Rachel couldn't sleep. She went out on the balcony again. The woman was there, closer this time, standing right below their balcony. Her face was blue-white in the moonlight. Her eyes were black holes. She was still singing, but now Rachel could understand the words, even though they were in Spanish. 7 nights of sorrow. 7 nights of pain. The 7th bride must join me. In the depths again, the coral holds our bodies. The sand becomes our bed. Room 412 remembers all the brides who now are dead. Rachel tried to scream, but no sound came out. The woman started walking backwards into the ocean, still staring up at Rachel. She walked until the water covered her head, but the singing continued. From under the water, David found Rachel on the balcony, frozen tears running down her face. He shook her, and she snapped out of it. She told him everything. David wanted to leave right away, but there were no flights until morning. They went to the front desk to change rooms. The night manager looked at their room number and shook his head. "No other rooms available," he said. "That's impossible. This place is empty," David argued. The manager just kept shaking his head. No other rooms. They spent the night in the lobby. But even there, Rachel could hear the singing getting louder, getting closer. Other guests walked by and stared at her with those same sad eyes. One old woman even came up and touched Rachel's face. "So young," she said, "so pretty, just like the others." Day 3, 4, and 5 passed in a blur. Rachel stopped eating. She couldn't sleep. The woman appeared everywhere. In mirrors, in windows, in the reflection of the pool. Always singing, always beckoning. David tried to get them on an earlier flight, but everything was booked. They were trapped until day 7. On day 6, they met another couple, John and Maria. They were leaving that day. Maria pulled Rachel aside. "I was in room 412 2 years ago," Maria said. "On the 7th night, I felt her calling. I walked to the beach. I couldn't stop myself. My feet just moved on their own. John found me neck deep in the water, walking deeper. He pulled me out just in time, but I saw her, the bride. She was beautiful once, before she drowned." "Who is she?" Rachel asked. "Lucia Cortez. She was supposed to get married here 50 years ago. The resort was smaller then, just a hotel. But on her wedding night, her husband pushed her off the balcony of room 412. She landed in the shallow water, broke her neck, but she didn't die right away. She drowned slowly as the tide came in, calling for help. No one came. Why does she take others? She's lonely. Every 7 years, she takes a bride. Someone staying in room 412, always on their 7th night. The hotel knows. They put women in that room on purpose. It's a sacrifice. To keep her happy. To keep her from taking more." Rachel's blood went cold. "Every 7 years. But you were here 2 years ago." Maria shook her head. "No, it was 7 years ago. Time. It moves different when she's calling you. What feels like days is really years. Check your phone." Rachel looked at her phone. The date was wrong. It showed they had been there for 3 weeks, not 6 days. She called her sister back home. Her sister screamed when she heard Rachel's voice. "Where have you been? You've been missing for 3 weeks." The police are looking for you." That's when Rachel understood. The resort wasn't empty. They were between worlds, between the living and the dead. Only those marked by Lucia could see the truth. Night 6 was the worst. Lucia didn't just sing. She stood in their room, dripping water everywhere. Her neck bent at an impossible angle. Her wedding dress rotted and covered in seaweed. She reached out to Rachel with pruned, dead fingers. "Tomorrow," she whispered. "Tomorrow you join me, forever." David couldn't see her, but he could see the water, the puddles on the floor, the wet footprints. He held Rachel all night while she shook and cried. Day 7, their last day. They tried to leave, but the roads were blocked. Construction, the taxi drivers said. The airport was closed. Weather, the airline said. They were trapped. As the sun set, Rachel felt it. The pull. Her feet started moving on their own. Walking to the door. David tried to hold her back, but she was too strong. Impossibly strong. She walked through the resort. Other guests watched, but didn't help. They knew. They all knew. This was how it had to be. The sacrifice to keep Lucia happy. Rachel walked onto the beach, into the water. David followed, screaming for help, but no one came. Rachel walked deeper and deeper. The water was up to her chest, then her neck. That's when David saw her, Lucia, standing behind Rachel in the water. Her dead hands on Rachel's shoulders, pushing her down. Her broken neck tilted as she smiled. David dove in. He grabbed Rachel and pulled with all his strength. Lucia screamed. Not a human scream. Something ancient and terrible. The water turned ice cold. Waves crashed over them. But David didn't let go. Then he remembered something. The cross. His grandmother's cross that he always wore. He pressed it against Lucia's hand. She shrieked and let go. Her skin sizzled and burned where the cross touched. David pulled Rachel to shore. They ran, not back to the resort, but down the beach. They ran until they found a church, an old Catholic church. They banged on the doors until the priest let them in. The priest knew immediately what had happened. He had seen it before. He kept them in the church until dawn. Lucia stood outside all night, screaming, crying, begging, but she couldn't enter holy ground. At sunrise, she was gone. The priest drove them to the airport himself. The resort had already charged their credit card for the full stay, plus damages. The damages were listed as extensive water damage to room 412. They never went back to Mexico, never stayed in any hotel room ending in 12, and Rachel never went swimming again. Because sometimes, even now, years later, when she's in the shower or the bath, she hears it, faint but clear, singing in Spanish. Getting closer, the Coral Sands Resort is still open, still taking reservations. Room 412 is always available, always cheap, and every 7 years, someone books it. Someone who doesn't know. Someone who won't leave. Someone who will become the new bride in the coral depths. Story 5. The Mountain. Road that shouldn't exist. Greg and Amy loved road trips. They had driven through every state, seen every national park, stayed in hundreds of small towns. They thought they had seen everything America had to offer. They were wrong. It was late September when they decided to drive through the Colorado mountains. They wanted to see the aspens changing colors, gold and orange leaves against the blue sky. They rented a sturdy SUV and loaded it with camping gear. just in case they wanted to stop somewhere beautiful. They left Denver early in the morning, taking Highway 285 south. The plan was to go through Fairplay, then over to Aspen, a simple 8-hour drive through some of the most beautiful country in America. But 3 hours into the drive, they saw a sign they had never noticed before. Scenic Route 49, Echo Valley, most beautiful drive in Colorado. Greg and Amy looked at each other. They had driven this highway dozens of times. There had never been a Route 49 before, but there it was. A paved road leading off into the mountains. Want to check it out? Greg asked. Amy pulled out her phone to look it up. No signal. But she had downloaded offline maps. Except Route 49 wasn't on any map. Not Google, not Apple, not even the paper map they kept in the glove box. Maybe it's new, Amy said. They turned onto Route 49. The road was perfect. Smooth blacktop winding through incredible mountain views. The aspens were amazing. Golden leaves falling like snow. They drove for an hour without seeing another car. Just them and the mountains. Then they saw the town. A sign said, "Welcome to Echo Valley. Population 1,847. Established 1882. The town was like something from a postcard. Victorian houses with wraparound porches. A main street with old-fashioned shops. People walking around in clean, neat clothes. To clean, to neat, like they were actors in costume. Greg and Amy stopped at a coffee shop called Maggie's Place. The bell above the door rang when they walked in. Everyone turned to look at them. Not just glanced, stared. An old woman behind the counter smiled. Her teeth were too white, too perfect. "Welcome to Echo Valley," she said. "We don't get many visitors." They ordered coffee and pie. The pie was incredible. The best Amy had ever tasted. But something was wrong with the other customers. They all moved at the same time, lifted their cups at the same time, chewed at the same time, like they were synchronized. "How long have you lived here?" Amy asked the woman. "Oh, all my life. We all have." "Nobody leaves Echo Valley. Never?" Greg asked. The woman's smile got wider. "Why would we? It's perfect here. You should stay. We have a lovely the mountain view. Best rates you'll find anywhere." They finished their pie and left. But when they got to their car, the back tire was flat, completely shredded. Like something with claws had torn it apart. "Don't worry," said a man who appeared out of nowhere. "I run the garage. I can fix that right up. But I won't have the right tire until tomorrow. You'll have to stay the night." Greg wanted to call AAA, but there was still no cell signal. The man said there was no phone service in Echo Valley. No internet either. They were completely cut off. They had no choice. They checked into the Mountain View Inn. The woman at the desk looked exactly like the woman from the coffee shop. Same face, same smile, same two perfect teeth. "You're twins?" Amy asked. "Something like that," the woman said. Their room was on the 3rd floor. Old-fashioned but clean. The window looked out on the main street. As the sun set, Greg and Amy watched the townspeople. They all walked to the center of town, all at exactly the same time. They stood in a circle around the fountain, just standing, not talking, not moving, just standing. At exactly 9 p.m., they all turned and looked up, right at Greg and Amy's window. Hundreds of faces, all smiling, all with those perfect teeth. They waved, in perfect unison. Then they walked away, back to their houses. All the lights in town went off at exactly 9:15. "We need to leave," Amy said. "Right now. We'll drive on the flat tire if we have to." They packed quickly and snuck down to their car. But it wasn't just the tire now. The engine was gone, completely removed. The hood was still closed, but when Greg opened it, there was nothing inside. Just an empty space where the engine should be. That's when they heard the humming. The whole town was humming the same tune, getting louder, getting closer. They ran back to the inn and locked their door. The humming continued all night. Right outside their door, sometimes they heard scratching, sometimes whispers. "Stay with us. You belong here. Echo Valley is your home now." At sunrise, the sounds stopped. Greg and Amy ventured out. The town looked normal again. People smiled and waved like nothing had happened. Their car was back in front of the inn, engine intact, new tire, tank full of gas, all fixed. The garage man said cheerfully, "No charge. We take care of our own in Echo Valley." Greg and Amy got in the car and drove fast. They followed the road out of town. But after an hour, they were back in Echo Valley. They tried again. Same result. Every road led back to the town. They were driving in a circle that shouldn't exist. They stopped and got out. Amy looked at the mountains around them. Really looked. The mountains were wrong, they repeated. The same peak over and over, like they were in a snow globe. A perfect little world that went nowhere. An old man approached them. Unlike the others, he looked tired, scared. "You noticed," he said quietly. "Most people don't notice for years." Greg asked. "I came here in 1987, just passing through. Like you. But Echo Valley doesn't let people leave. It needs us. Feeds on us. On our life force, I guess. We don't age, don't die. But we're not really alive, either." "There has to be a way out," Amy said. The old man shook his head. "I've tried everything. The only way out is to become one of them. Really become one of them. Give up your memories, your identity. Become part of Echo Valley forever. Then you can leave. But you won't want to. You won't remember wanting to." That night, the townspeople came for them. Not violently. They just stood outside the inn, hundreds of them, singing songs, offering food, telling them how wonderful Echo Valley was, how happy they could be, how perfect everything was. Greg and Amy held out for 3 days. But they were getting tired. The food at the inn was drugged. They knew it was drugged, but they had to eat, and each meal made them care less about leaving, made Echo Valley seem nicer, made the singing sound beautiful instead of terrifying. On the 4th night, Amy almost gave in. She walked out of the inn in a trance. Greg followed her to the fountain. The townspeople were waiting. They opened their circle to let Amy in. She stepped forward. That's when Greg saw it. In the fountain, under the water, bones, hundreds of bones, human bones. This wasn't a fountain. It was a mass grave. He grabbed Amy and shook her. She snapped out of it just as the townspeople started changing. Their faces melted and reformed. Their perfect teeth became fangs. Their eyes turned black. They weren't people. They had never been people. They were something else. Something that wore the shape of people. Greg and Amy ran. Not down the road this time. Into the woods. The things that looked like people followed, moving too fast, climbing trees, jumping impossible distances. But they couldn't enter the forest. Something stopped them at the tree line. They screamed and howled, but they couldn't follow. Greg and Amy kept running through the dark woods, over rocks, through streams. They ran all night. As the sun came up, they found themselves on Highway 285, their real car parked on the side of the road, keys in the ignition, tank full of gas. They drove straight home. Didn't stop, didn't sleep, didn't talk about what happened. When they looked up Echo Valley, they found nothing. No town by that name had ever existed in Colorado. Route 49 didn't exist. But sometimes, when they're driving in the mountains, any mountains, they see it, just for a second. A sign for Route 49, a sign for Echo Valley. And they know it's still there, still waiting, still hungry. They never take scenic routes anymore, never leave the main highways, and they never, ever stop in small mountain towns. Because Echo Valley is still out there, moving, hunting, looking for new people to join its perfect little world. And the worst part, sometimes, late at night, they hear the humming, that same tune the townspeople hummed, and they find themselves humming along. Because part of them is still there, part of them never left, part of them is waiting in Echo Valley, standing by the fountain, smiling with perfect teeth, waiting for them to come home. So there you have it. 5 true stories. 5 vacations that became nightmares. 5 reasons why sometimes staying home is the safest choice. These people were just like you. Normal people, looking for a nice vacation, looking for a break from regular life. But they found something else, something that shouldn't exist, something that waits in hotel rooms and cruise ships and cabins and resorts and small towns that aren't on any map. The scariest part, this could happen to anyone. Maybe it already has. Maybe you've stayed in a hotel room where something terrible happened. Maybe you've driven past a road that shouldn't exist. Maybe you've been watched by something that wasn't quite human. You just didn't notice. Or maybe you did notice and you've tried to forget. But here's the thing about these stories. The people who lived them, they can't forget. They check locks 3 times before bed. They never travel alone. They research every hotel, every flight, every destination, because they know the truth. Vacation isn't always paradise. Sometimes it's a doorway to places we're not meant to go, to things we're not meant to see. So next time you're planning a trip, remember these stories. Remember Sarah and the hotel that burned down 50 years ago? Remember Jennifer and the cruise ship ghost who just wanted justice? Remember Tom and Lisa and the dead family in the woods? Remember Rachel and the bride who walks the beach? Remember Greg and Amy and the town that doesn't let people leave? Check your hotel reviews, not just the 5-star ones. Read the 1-star reviews, the ones that sound crazy, the ones about strange noises and weird staff, because sometimes those crazy reviews are the only warning you'll get. Never stay in a room if something feels wrong. That cold feeling in your stomach, that sense that you're being watched, that's your instinct trying to save your life. Listen to it. Leave, even if you lose money, even if people think you're crazy. Better to be alive and called crazy than to become another story like these And if you ever see something that shouldn't exist, a road that's not on any map, a hotel that looks too old, a town that's too perfect, don't investigate. Don't be curious. Just drive away fast and never look back. Because some places don't want to be found. And when you find them anyway, they make sure you never leave. And happy travels, if you dare.